Welcome to the National Button Society's Capturing the Magic of Buttons series of button craft tutorials. This is Sylvia Liszka Durell back with you in 2022 with a new button craft video. I hope you have visited the National Button Society Creativity channel on YouTube. There are already 11 button craft tutorials on there to inspire you. The National Button Society provides this series of tutorials in response to its members' increased interest in using their uncollectible buttons in artistic ways. This series of no-harm button crafts and the other button craft ideas on the National Button Society website support its mission to preserve all that is beautiful and historic in buttons. Access to this series is a membership benefit, along with quarterly bulletins and online button education resources. You can see more about what membership offers you online at nationalbuttonsociety.org. In this tutorial, I will guide you through the making of a button and zipper bracelet. The photo shows an example of a button and zipper bracelet I have made. I will guide you from start to finish how to make one for yourself. The items you will need to create it start with a 7-inch zipper with metal teeth. I often find these at thrift stores at a good price. Next, you'll need a measuring tape and glue. The glue I use is E6000. Next is a sewing machine, if you have one, or needle and thread for hand sewing. You'll also need a closure for the bracelet. I'll show you several samples a few slides from now. And then finally, you'll need buttons, of course. Here are a few other designs to help you start thinking about the kind of bracelet you want to create. Because the red one here is made on a plastic zipper with big plastic teeth, I chose to load it up with lots of white plastic buttons. The top one on the right features contrasting colors of buttons with the goldish brown zipper. I added a strip of red leather to the first one on the left here in the bottom row and used both plastic and metal buttons. And lastly, the two final ones are adorned with silver metal buttons. You can work with any color and length of zipper you want. I like using the 7-inch length, but if yours is longer, you can cut it to fit. Now here's the fun part. With so many interesting buttons to choose from, it didn't take long to see some favorites. Pick out 9 to 11 buttons you like. I only used 9, but I like to have some alternatives to choose from. Maybe you're like me and find yourself getting distracted by other buttons for other reasons. I pulled these out and set them aside to look at and categorize later. Okay, back to our bracelet project. We'll start by cutting the end off the zipper in 3 steps. Step 1 is to cut the bottom of the zipper just inside the metal stop point. This will allow you to separate the 2 parts of the zipper as shown in step 2. For step 3, lay the 2 zipper halves together with the fabric parts of the 2 halves laying as close as possible to the zipper teeth. Pin the halves together to get ready for stitching on the machine or by hand. If you are sewing by hand, you can stitch a broad stitch that can become a decorative feature of the bracelet. You can also do it with a machine that has stitch choices. Sew as close to the edge of the fabric side as possible on both sides of the zipper. I used a color of thread in the machine that pretty well matched the zipper color. So after I sewed it, you can hardly see the thread. Your 2 halves of the zipper are now one, together and bendable. This step may vary depending on what type of closure you choose. No matter what type I use, I like to finish in a way that hides raw edges. I use E6000 glue to attach the half of the closure with the clasp attached to one end of the zipper, making sure it is covering the raw end. Wait until it is completely dry before moving on to the next step. Now that your first half of the closure is dry and securely attached to one end of your zipper, it's time to figure out the length you'll need for your bracelet to fit your wrist well. Notice that I added a loop to the closure half we will be working on now. This is what the clasp will hook onto to close the bracelet. Getting the size right will work best if you have someone to help you hold the bracelet on your wrist. Now wrap the zipper around your wrist to a size that is comfortable. Connect the clasp side to the loop side. Slide the loop back until it feels comfortable on your wrist. Mark where it rests on the other side of the bracelet. Now pin the loop side to the zipper at that point and trim the excess zipper off right under the closure bar. Glue it on. Here are the other styles of closures I have used. These first two I made from elastic ties. It is really a simple way to create a closure. You just need an elastic tie on one side and a button on the other. On the two on the left, I used bar and circle type clasps. The next one is like the one I'm using in the tutorial. The one on the green bracelet is more decorative. And finally, I used a magnetic clasp on the last one. I also added a chain to save the bracelet from falling off the wrist if the magnets let go. Probably overkill, but you never know, right? Now it's time to lay out your buttons the way you like best. Place them pretty close together because when you wear the bracelet, it will curve around your wrist and will widen the gaps between the buttons. For button placement, I started by folding the zipper in half to find the center. I put my needle there to know where to sew my centerpiece button. After that, I sewed on the two end buttons and then worked within the space in between to fit on the rest of the buttons. And it's done. We hope you enjoyed this button and zipper bracelet tutorial. We'd love to see what you have created. Share your creations or ideas with us via email at creative@nationalbuttonsociety.org. For more button craft ideas, button education, and information on state button societies and local clubs, visit nationalbuttonsociety.org. Also, look for us on Facebook. Thanks. Bye now.